Let me get out my card here, so I give you the right dates. If you ask me any
Perfect.
questions, like when did I go in and when did I get out? I got a story on this card.
What's that card?
See what's left of this?
Yeah, wow.
And see how that's all stained?
Yeah.
Well, before I got married, I had a date with this girl, and we went to Norumbega Park.
Wow.
And we rented a boat there, and we're out in the park, and the boat tipped over. The girl started screaming. She couldn't swim. I said, well, stop your screaming. I'm standing up. And she stood up. Well, everything turned out okay, but what I didn't know was my wallet was missing. 2 years later, I got a phone call from a woman asking me what my name was and everything. And she said, we found some information regarding you on the shores of the pond where we had the boat. And I went and picked it up, and this is what was left. That
Oh my
and
gosh.
this.
That's
And the reason for
amazing.
this one was water would not destroy this because I was in the Navy, and what good would it be if it got destroyed, you know?
Yeah.
It got it 2 years later. Isn't that
Wow.
something?
I'll have to get some pictures of those before I go so I can
Oh,
incorporate
by
that.
all, I'm gonna leave them out.
Awesome.
You tell me what you need, I don't care.
So, if you want to maybe introduce yourself, tell me your name so I'll have that for the video and where you're
My
from.
name is William Francis Cronin, Jr.
I love
I was
it.
a junior.
Junior.
I still am. And got any more questions?
Yeah, so where did you grow up? Were you from New Hampshire
Oh,
originally?
I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We're about 3/4 of a mile from Harvard College. My father bought a house there for a two-family house for $3,000. When I married my wife, we bought it from my mother and father for $5,000. We sold it for $8,000. Now this is 70 years ago. And about a year ago, I got a call from one of my cousins, her cousins down there, that, Billy, you know your house sold again. What do you think it sold for?
Almost $1 million, probably.
$1.5 million. I couldn't believe it. But I would have had to keep it for 70 years, you know?
To get to that point.
Life is interesting.
It is so interesting. I love that area, though. It's beautiful. My grandparents live in Woburn, so we will go down to Massachusetts a lot, and I
There you
love
go.
Cambridge. It's beautiful. So, how old were you when you enlisted?
I went in at 17. I was 17 years old when I went in. And I went in on, I got the dates right here, on 7/23/43, and I got out 4/15/46 with an honorable discharge.
Wow, 3 years. And so, when you went, where did you do your boot camp, and what branch were you in?
In Newport, Rhode Island, in the Navy. And after Newport, Rhode Island, I was transferred down to New York and then assigned to a destroyer, of which I have a picture of over there.
Wow.
You can take, those are the 4 ships I was on during World War II. You can take a picture
I would
of
love
them.
to.
Yeah, be my guest.
So before that, you must have been in high school, probably.
I was in high school,
Wow.
and I left in the, at 1.5, I think it was 1.5 years in high school, and I left. When I got out of the service, I never went back to school, and I started work. And the first job that I got, they asked me if I wanted to study how to take charge of people working in the plant. I said, of course I'd like to do that. So they gave me a job, and I had to go around and study the plants and make recommendations and all. And I got a better job. And I didn't go back to school, but I went back to night school. And I studied mathematics, history, you name it.
That's
To get me
awesome.
promoted.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I got to run a company. Oh, go ahead. This is my boss.
Yeah, you're a
But
beautiful
tell
wife.
him At this point, you were married.
Oh yeah, that's right. I married
I
this
get it.
beautiful.
You got it. You were like, go to school, do all the things. You're a supportive wife.
Well, she knows about. I had 3 jobs at one time, plus going to school.
Oh my gosh.
I worked days, and then I worked at the South. I worked at Cambridge Thermionics, which is an electronics place.
I gotta finish my laundry.
Yeah, all right. She knows I'm telling you the truth. Anyway. Yeah.
I love it.
And I had a job 2 nights a week driving a taxi. And I had a job 2 nights a week at the South End hardware store selling stuff. And that was those 3 jobs that I had, that was it. And the 4th job was going to school 1 night a week so that I could get better off, you know,
Yeah,
in business.
wow.
So before the war and after the war, how were things different in America and for you? Did you notice?
Before the war, all I know is I had a good life. I had good parents, just had a good life. No complaints at all. And after the war, I don't really recall how things changed, but they were better for me. Everything seemed to work out pretty well for me. And I married her, or she married me, I don't know which one. But
No, the war ended in 45. I met him in 47. I married him in 49.
Wow,
So we've been married over 70 years.
yeah.
that's amazing. True love. I hope I find that one
We
day.
have never had a fight.
Really?
Ask her.
Wow.
If we did,
When?
we had disagreements. Nobody
Oh, I'm
can live
talking
together
about, yeah.
without disagreeing.
Yeah.
Well, we disagreed on things, and then if she was right, she got with her way, and if I was right, I got mine. But you gotta have, you know, we don't know everything the way it should be. She might, and I might. So we
Yeah,
just
but in
got-
the meantime, we had 3 sons and 1 daughter.
Yeah, I told her about Billy.
And then
quickly.
we've got all the grandkids. Now we got the great-grandmas.
Yeah.
And we got the new babies.
Oh, that's the best. Do they live around here so you can see them a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, they live in.
One right there.
Oh, so cute.
Do you want to see a fat baby?
Little munchkin.
She's my fat baby,
What's her name?
Olivia.
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 She's so adorable.
Yeah, but my son tells me she's slimming down. I says, too bad. I like my fat baby.
It's like a Gerber baby.
Wait till she gets to be a teenager. I'll show her her fat baby pictures.
She'll love it. My sister looked the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did you meet, the two of you?
Well, it was on a blind date. Like, I had a date with the girl over and across the river from me, and that night it snowed, and I didn't have a car. I couldn't get over there. And this friend of mine, Johnny Spadaro, and his brother Frankie, I'm not sure which one was going with the girl that lived next door to her. And they called up, and how it got arranged, I don't know. All I know is I said, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't want to go to the other part of Boston to pick up your date.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, who lives next door to me, said, I got a friend next door. Let's see if she's free tonight.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they called me up. I says, yes. So I tell my daughter this story. Ma, you didn't do that just right away. I says, I've been hearing about this guy for 6 months. Never got a chance to meet him.
Wow.
Grabbed it.
And you did, and you got it for 70 years. You
Yeah.
snatched him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 72. We were there
72?
72 years, right? 72.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we knew each other for 2 years before that, so it would be 74. And we've never really had a fight.
Wow.
We've disagreed, but
Yeah.
we come to terms, and then that's
I
the
always
end
tell
of
him,
it.
you know you're wrong anyway, so.
All right.
Okay.
So when you went into the war, what was the hardest part from leaving high school to going to the Navy? What was that like for you?
Well, I remember I was at high school, in the second year of high school, about halfway through. And I remember the gang was, we used to meet in front of my house. There was a telephone pole there, and we'd all hang around the telephone pole, about 6 of us, then we'd all go to high school. And we heard, it was a Monday morning, and we had heard the day before, the 7th, that Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor. And we said, we'll lick them before breakfast tomorrow. That was young kids with no brains, you know. So things went on, and I decided I just had to go in there and do some fighting. I wanted to protect our country. And I did. Went into the Navy. And the reason I went into the Navy was I like to fish. And I figured that when we pulled into a port, I could fish. And the Navy did have 3 fishing rod outfits on board. And I used to date the cook's niece. I'd take her on dates when we get into port, and I always had a fishing rod for me.
That's awesome.
I remember fishing over in North Africa one time, and there was a swarm of grasshoppers. You ever see these swarms on television?
I've seen them on television, but
Never in real life.
Well, one came, and it landed in the ocean, and the fish were feeding on those things like it was going out of style. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. You got to fish in all these places.
Yeah, I fished in every port that I wanted, if it wasn't any action going on there, you know?
so what ports did
You go to? Where were you fighting?
Mementoes, that's in North Africa. It's about 7 miles south of Oran and Algiers. Went to Naples in Italy. Went to Palermo, Sicily. Went to the island, the most bombed spot on the planet at that time, Malta and France. And then a quick stop at Gibraltar. And then the other places were Southern Ireland and Scotland. And then after the war was over there, went into the Pacific and headed for Japan. Got off of the Hawaiian Islands, and everybody said, the war's over. What's an atom bomb? Nobody knew what an atom bomb was. We pulled into Japan. Actually, I pulled into Tsingtao, China. Then from Tsingtao, we went up the Wangpu River and then the Yangtze, so that we could get to, what's the big cap? Begins with an S in China. Oh boy, I can see it.
Shanghai?
Shanghai.
Got
Hey,
you.
You tell me what you want. We went to Shanghai, and then after Shanghai, we went over to Yokosuka, Japan, and I took a train from Yokosuka up to Tokyo, and we went through Hiroshima. I'm not sure whether it was Hiroshima or Nagasaki, but one of the others. You could see the big mountain in the distance, and I couldn't believe there was nothing left to the city. The only thing I remember was a red brick wall up about 7 feet at an angle like that, and in front of it there was a steel safe where they would put money and stuff in. That's the only thing that wasn't destroyed that I could see. That's what I remember. Went into Tokyo. The station at Tokyo had a tin roof, and there was hundreds of holes in the roof from these butterfly bombs. Remember when they burned Tokyo to the ground?
I do.
Well, a lot of those bombs landed on the stations, and they just burnt right through the roof.
Wow.
But the people over there, when they'd see us, they'd bow down. It's like we were gods or something, you know. It was strange.
That is very weird.
It must have been heartbreaking, too, to see the destruction.
It was, really. You know, they're human beings like everybody else, and a lot of them probably didn't want the war, and a lot of them probably lost their mothers and fathers, and just a sad situation.
Yeah.
War is never a good situation for
I
any
know.
party. Just
Well, war never really helps anybody in the end. I mean, we have them, and you got to fight them because you just can't let people trot all over you. But in the end, you wonder why was it all about? You know,
Yeah.
crazy. And I think we're headed for another war now. Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
I know.
it's scary.
And with these bombs and things that they got,
I
they're
know.
not going to be 2-year wars or 3-year wars. They're going to be 2-day wars.
That's what one of my teachers.
In 8th grade, she said, I remember vividly, I was young, but she said if there's a World War III with all these atomic weapons nowadays, it's not going to look like it used to.
No, it won't.
So I really hope not, because
Yeah.
I like our planet, I like humanity,
Oh,
I
do
don't want it
too,
to...
yeah. I love the good old USA.
Yeah.
I really love it.
Did your friends, any
From the poll that you would talk to go into the war too, did your buddies join you, or?
I think about 4 or 5 of us did.
Yeah.
But they went into different branches. Like I went in the Navy, they went in the Army, the Marines, and the Air Corps and stuff like that. And I very seldom I didn't see any of them. The only one I saw during the war was one time we come back into New York and we were going to be there for 7 days. So I asked the captain, could I have your permission to go to Massachusetts and visit my folks and all? And he said, yes. So I went. And while I was there, I had an aunt that worked at a restaurant in South Boston, and she always invited me over, and I got a big free meal. Well, she was a waitress there.
That's awesome.
And I'm walking down the street one day, and I see all these people gathered and yelling and screaming. And what's going on? Well, there were 2 guys fighting, and one of them was Fats Marat, a friend of mine. And he won.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it, but you can't forget something like that.
No,
you know?
not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And you must
Must have made on that boat, I mean, you're on the ship for so long, you probably made a bunch of friends while you were on it.
I got served a lunch by the King and Queen of England, a former King of England, King William, and he was the King of England, but he did such a bad job with women that he got out, and then they made him the governor of one of the islands down south, and he married a woman named Wallace Simpson. Did you ever hear of Wallace
Yes,
Simpson?
my granny.
My mom was born in London, so I know she was in Birmingham during the war, my granny, so I got the British perspective from that time.
Wallace Simpson was a divorcee. She was divorced twice, and then she married this guy. So they said she was the greatest checker player in the world. She had jumped to and landed a king. Well,
I love it. She really is. That's great.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. It was Wallace Simpson, and he was the governor of the Bahamas at that time, and we had a nice luncheon on his lawn.
Wow.
And the other famous person I saw was, who's that actor? He took us all out to lunch. If it hits me, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I can see him. He came with the Coast Guard, and it was my job to teach him how to set the timers on shells so that when you fired at an airplane, the shell would explode rather than just go off into space, no place. That gun was set so it would explode in 7 seconds or 5 seconds, and the fellow would tell. Cesar Romero, you ever hear of him?
I vaguely.
I don't know
Well,
exactly
he was a
who.
movie actor,
Wow.
and he took us, he came through in the Coast Guard. It was my job to teach him how to set the timer on the shell, and he took us all out to lunch.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and let's see, there was one other good meeting that I had with people. I haven't thought of this stuff in a long time. Who the heck was the other? Oh, if I think of it, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
What was the most vivid memory you have? Do you have of a
The
time?
worst memories I ever had was when we would sink a submarine, and I had to think of those kids that were on that submarine down there. And our squadron had three submarines on they call those things where the smoke is up through. Well, you know when a ship is going, you see the smoke
Yes,
coming
yes.
out, they put names on there. They had 3 submarines, 3 stars on there for us, for sinking subs. And all I could think of was the kids that, you know, like myself, that just get it now.
Yeah.
And we must have killed 40 or 50 whales, because the sonar couldn't distinguish a whale from a sub. So once that thing pinged the whale, off went the torpedo and blow that whale up.
Oh, that's so
sunk a
sad.
people, yeah.
I hadn't even
Thought
thought
of that.
Well, that's what happened.
Oh, must have been very bloody.
And it was
Water.
blood.
Yeah.
I mean, bloody.
Wow.
Well, whenever we hit a whale, we'd have to go explore what we hit, and we'd see all the blood come up. The reason I got to go to lunch with the former King of England, was our sister ship, the USS Knight. You know what a depth charge is?
I don't.
Well, it's a barrel of gunpowder and stuff that they send down, and it explodes when it gets down to a certain footage to blow the submarine up.
Wow.
You must have seen those.
I have, yeah,
or
movies,
something.
yep.
And our sister ship shot one and almost sank us. So we had to go into the Bahamas to repair it. They couldn't repair it out to sea because the ship was going,
Yeah.
the water was coming in, and that's when the former King and Queen invited us over to lunch on their board.
Oh my gosh.
Were you ever worried about your ship sinking?
Oh yeah, because the submarines, with one of their torpedoes, they could put you under.
Yeah.
And we had 12 destroyers in our squadron. We were one that took the convoys over to the Mediterranean, different places, and England and Ireland and Scotland.
Wow.
And they would be there to protect us. Other destroyers. We had 12 in our fleet. But we had the Admiral on board ours, and he liked to be out on the front. We'd go like 2 miles ahead of all the ships going over the convoy, and we'd go back and forth pinging for subs with sonar, so that if we spotted something, we had eight other destroyers that could attack it with us.
Wow.
And whenever we spotted something, those destroyers came, and that's how we got the 3 subs. And I don't know if you can see it on the stack there, but I remember seeing the 3rd submarine put up there.
Wow. How many people were on
Your ship?
About 225.
Oh my
on that
goodness.
destroyer, yeah.
And did you just have bunks for sleeping?
we had bunks.
Your barracks, kind of?
2 story for you. we were out to sea one time in bunks, and we had taken on, I don't know, 3 or 4 new guys. And one of the fellas there is an Italian kid. He could throw his voice, he could sound like a woman. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, if one of these guys would be coming off watch, you'd hear this voice, "Hey, sweetie, come on up."
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Oh, we enjoyed it. You know, that was a good laugh for us. The poor kid that he was yelling at. No, not yelling at, but talking to us. He couldn't believe it. A woman out here at night, you know.
On the boat, how'd they manage that one? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it looks like despite all of the hard things, you did find a lot of laughter and good times, hopefully, too, while you were with your friends overseas.
One of the hardest things, I guess, being away from my parents and everything for a long time, and it just because I had good mother and father and good aunts and uncles, and I just had a good family, thank God. And that was probably the hardest thing. But I never regretted joining. This is a true story now, all right?
Yeah, definitely.
We used to anchor at Mementoes, and would take a bus from there to Oran, which was about 8 miles away. And there were 3 other fellas and myself, and we'd go to a restaurant up there, and we'd have a glass of wine or whiskey or something and a good meal. And we're sitting there one day, and this kid about 9 years old, dressed in furs, and he had rubber boots on his feet. He must have came from a truck that was shot up in the desert, made his own shoes. And he walked up to our table, never said a word, and he come over and he showed us a needle about that long. And he took the needle, and these were wooden floors. He took the needle and he put it in the wooden floor between 2 of the cracks, stood on his hands, got over the needle, and picked the needle up with his eye.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't, but we figured when he picked the needle up, it would have been in his mouth, but no, he picked it up like that. We each gave him $1.
Wow.
That was a lot of money in those days.
Yeah,
that kid was
that-
probably a millionaire by our standards.
Genuinely,
Yeah.
oh
My goodness.
Yeah. And he never said a word, and he just went to the next table.
wow.
Yeah,
The
how can
things you
forget
remember,
something like
yeah, and I would be so afraid to poke my eye, and
that? I know.
And
Oh,
he
I
did-
would never do it.
I would never know. Did you keep in touch with some of your friends from the war after you got home that you were on the ship with?
Yeah, well, when I did get home, I come back on the Wisconsin. It's a battleship. Now that's when I come back from Japan. And I was in line there getting discharged at the Fargo building in Boston. And I heard someone yell, "Hey, Billy, come over here." It was one of my neighbors, Peter Conrad. He was signing us out.
Oh.
And of course I went over there and I jumped the line, you know, and got over to Peter and then went home. And well, I did get home a few times during the war.
That's good.
When we went to New York, and they're going to be there for a week or 2, and I'd go up to see the captain and say, "Captain, I'd like to go to Massachusetts and visit my parents." He said, "Okay, just be back." And he did.
Did your parents help with
The war efforts from the home front, were they involved at all?
I don't know how much I know my father worked at the building over in Watertown. It was a place where they made the gun barrels, and he was on one of the lathes that did the drilling out on 5-inch gun barrels. So he contributed that way, but of course he got paid for it, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
True.
Yeah. And my mother worked at a place called the Hood Rubber, which was in Watertown, and that they made all the boots and shoes and stuff, and that was all during the war.
Did she work before the war, or did she join?
Join the workforce during the war.
I can't say that she worked there before the war. I really don't recall that. My father worked for the city before that. I know that. But when the war started, he wanted a better job to help the war, so he got it at the Watertown Arsenal, drilling the gun barrels, you know.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
was just a 17-year-old girl, and we'd go up to the, we'd get yarn from, like what are the people in town?
The seamstresses, or?
No,
What?
people that give things away.
I
When
don't know
you
what
help
say.
people, like welfare,
Um,
and they'd give us yarn, and we make,
like the
scarves.
rations, kind of,
Or
or?
no?
Yeah, we make scarves for the soldiers,
Wow.
but we were only 17.
Yeah, that's so young.
But my sister was 5 years older than me, one of my sisters. she used to entertain the soldiers, put on an evening gown and dance. And after a while, she gets sick and tired of it. And she says, Mary, you want to take my place? I said, yes.
That's awesome.
So I take her evening gown. You go dance with the soldiers.
Wow.
I lost one of my best friends during the war.
I'm so sorry.
Did you ever hear of a Dear John letter?
Yes.
Well, this Salty Richardson, who I partnered with, got a Dear John letter, and the last I heard about Salty was from people who saw him wading out into the Mediterranean, and we never saw him again. His wife sent him a letter to wanting to divorce him or something like that. I never read the letter or anything, but whatever it was, it affected him so much he committed suicide.
That's awful.
Unbelievable, huh?
Yeah, I mean, so many people passed away during that war. It's just. Did you lose buddies from your
No,
ship?
that was the only one that was lost from our ship. We were very lucky, very lucky. All of our action was with submarines.
Wow.
And I know well, I don't know if you can see them on the picture over there, but we had 3 of them on there. And I actually felt sorry for the kids that I knew were on those subs. You didn't have a chance if you got hit with one of those underwater.
No.
But we were so fortunate here in the States. We didn't have the bombers overhead.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go to the bunkers, you know?
Yeah, my granny, she lived in England, as I was saying, and so she was in Birmingham, and she was a young kid, but she had to go into the bomb shelters, and they ended up having to move to the country because
Yeah.
Birmingham had gotten bombed so badly, and she told me a story where she got in so much trouble because she was a troublemaker, and she ate an entire stick of butter under the table, and it was during a time of rationing, so they wouldn't have been able to get another stick of butter for like 2 weeks. Her mom wanted to kill her. She's like, Patricia, you can't eat the butter. But yeah, she was always saying they had to put the blackout windows down and the sirens, and
See, we didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, Billy, we weren't that far from the coast. We didn't have to blacken the windows or anything.
Nope. Well, I don't remember, I wasn't there, but
No,
I don't recall us doing anything like that.
no, we were lucky.
we were,
And they had German submarines, like, right out of New York Harbor.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a fact. They would wait for the convoys to go out and they'd pick one up and bang it off.
What was the place we used to go? We'd get a boat out of Boston and go,
Go to Normbega.
no, on the coast. Anyway, you had to,
Oh,
whatever it was, they'd have to lower the nets in the harbor
oh, yeah,
to let us get
yeah.
out. And if they had so that the submarines couldn't get in and get us.
Oh my goodness.
That is crazy.
We had these planes, these torpedo planes, they called them, that had the circles,
Yeah.
helicopters. And when we'd be coming back or leaving with them, we saw them overhead, we figured, we don't have to worry about submarines, not while those buggers are around. 'Cause
Yeah.
they could see them, and they had the depth charges they could drop.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't even think about the fact that I knew that the submarines were on the coast, but because we never got bombed and they never really struck, you
Yeah.
don't hear about it as much.
Well, with 6 destroyers around the group, they weren't going.
Yeah, they weren't gonna dare.
6 or 12, I forget. But they weren't going to attack with 6 or 12 destroyers right in the area, you know? They're going to wait until they get a single ship or something.
Yeah, then they can.
They go for it,
If,
but
if they did something like that, they wouldn't have had a chance, not with all the cans we had.
No.
But you know, we never had a blackout. And we were close to the shore.
Yeah.
We were very lucky.
Were you worried?
about it coming to America, or did you think it would stay in Europe?
Were you worried that the bombs
Would eventually come to the United States, or was it not something people worried about?
How the war progressed. I graduated from high school on June 6, 1944. That was the day of the D-Day invasion of Europe.
Wow.
That was the day that all the free countries got together and went. That's when they started to defeat the Nazis.
Yeah.
In my lousy memory, but there's a few things you can remember. No, we were so lucky.
I got put in jail in Italy.
What?
There were 4 of us. And
Did you tell them about the other one too?
that wasn't one. I was in jail twice, really.
The night I
But-
met you, you got in jail.
Yeah, I was going with her when I got put in jail
Oh,
because of her.
I tell,
not
I
really.
tell our daughter this one, she's, Ma, you knew that and you went out with him? I said, listen, I've been hearing about this guy for 6 months. And my friend said he won't be fixed.
No.
And she says, oh, you're like to be able to wear your 3-inch heels with him?
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, that night, it was snowing, and you didn't want to go all the way to the other side of Boston
Yeah.
to pick up this girl over there. So my friend says, I got a friend next door, let's call and see if she's free tonight. That was me. So I told my Ma, she says, Ma, you went out with him just like that. I says, Marcia, I've been hearing about this guy for 6 months. Do you think I was going to drop this chance?
Oh, I love
And then, was it just an instant connection for you both?
Yeah, there was an
I never-
instant connection.
Wow.
Well, when I went home that night, it was probably about 11 o'clock, and my Uncle Georgie was in the living room reading. And as I went by, I said, Georgie, I think I met the girl I'm gonna marry. He said, oh, okay. That was it, and that was the one I was talking about,
it.
yeah.
Wow.
It was a hit that night, yep.
A long time ago.
And we got over 72 years now married.
That's
Yeah, that's a long
incredible.
Never had a fight, never had a real fight.
Wow.
So we got 3 sons. No. We have, I have to start with me. We have 4 sons, 1 grand.
Three sons and 1 daughter.
Yeah. And then the grandchildren. April's got 4 boys. Then the granddaughters each have 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the babies are coming now.
Yeah, we got a good family.
That's
They're all
nice.
good, all nice, you know, everything's so
Yeah.
nice, you know, it's perfect.
Well, years ago, if my children had a baby. They lived far away, so by the time I got a chance to see the baby, might be a month old.
Yeah.
Well, when Ashley had hers, I saw that baby when she was a week old, and she fit from here to here. My son Tim says, Ma, you should have seen the look on her face. I said, Timmy, you realize how tiny she was? She was only a few days old.
That is insane. Yeah, babies are so small, you don't even realize
I
it
know,
until
I
you
know.
see them when they
I
come right
know.
on out.
And you don't realize how beautiful baby skin is. And there's a texture to it. You hear? After that, I was shopping downtown in the summertime. There's a lady with a baby in a carriage. And the baby's legs were bad, you know, so I said to the mother, would you mind if I touched your baby? Just touch his leg. She said, no, go ahead. Just to feel that baby's skin.
Yeah, it's smooth as a baby's skin is, a real thing. It's the adage, but it means something.
I'm never going to finish my laundry if I don't get talking.
So how did you end up in jail in Italy?
Well, we 4 of us, there was Courier and 2 other guys and myself, we rented this horse and wagon. The horse had a soft hat on, it had glasses, no glass in the limbs, but the fake glasses, and he dressed up to look like a human being, and we rented this guy to take us up on Mount Vesuvius, which was just outside of Naples. And we went up there, and when we got there, we each bought a bottle of volcanic dust for a nickel a piece, and on the way down, Courier was singing, oh driver, you're not gonna get paid, because we don't have any money, because we had had a few drinks. He didn't think the guy understood English, but he did, and he took us to the police station. And the cops came out, they put us all in the jail.
Did you have money or no?
No, we spent it all. We didn't have that much, let's put it that way.
Oh my gosh.
And we were all in jail, and they let Courier go back to the ship so that he could get money from our friends to get us out. We did, and while we were in jail, I saw these rifles. They were about that, you know what a rifle is?
Yep.
About that long with a bayonet on the end of it. It was what they used to train the fascist kids with.
Oh wow.
And I got money back from, when Courier came back, I got a few dollars. And I bought one of those things for about $3. And that today is in a room not too far from here, that rifle that I brought back from the war there, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm sure it's kind of a relic now from you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not worth anything, but it's a treasure for the family, They like to keep it. My
Yeah.
son has it right here, yeah.
Absolutely, that's fantastic.
I don't know if you ever saw movies where they train the kids with these little well, that's what it is.
One of those little ones. Wow. Did you ever send home like a sweetheart pillow or anything, a sweetheart pillow or any letters or anything like that?
No, the only thing I ever brought home was when we'd be outside the 10-mile limit, they'd open up ship stores, and I could buy a carton of cigarettes for 50 cents, 5 cents a pack.
Wow.
You know what they're paying now, 10 and 12 cents.
Yeah.
And I'd get 4 of them. I'd give my mother and father 1 each, and I'd keep 2 for myself. It only cost $2. I get 4 cartons of cigarettes.
That's
But
amazing.
you had to be outside the 3-mile limit. If you're inside the 3-mile limit, they went to 10 cents a pack. That's what they were selling for at the time.
In your 3 years, did it fly by or was it a long time?
No, it seemed to go pretty fast. I really enjoyed it because I just like the ocean, and I love fishing, and every time we get into port, I'd be able to fish because I think I told you I was dating the cooks.
Yep. That's amazing. And you got to see so many parts of the world that you probably never would have.
And I used to tell people our cook was so good, but the sad part was he committed suicide. And why did he commit suicide? Oh no, he saved the lives of 220 people, and he committed suicide. Why did he commit? How did he save the lives of 220 people? He committed suicide. Stop feeding them.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
just a joke.
I love it. I love it.
I haven't told that for 20 years.
I love that though.
Yeah.
Do you think about the war often, or is it just kind of like something from
No,
the past now?
when I see different parts, like with ships here and there and things, I think of my buddy a lot, the one that committed suicide. And I had another friend, borrowed my pea coat and took off with it and went over there, never saw him again. And you know, we're in New York, and I went into a Salvation Army store, and I told him I need to get a pea coat or something like it because mine was taken, and the guy took it and never came back. And I found this black sweater, which I still have, and went to give them money. They would not accept money from me. And I have never passed a Salvation Army guy now without dropping at least $1, sometimes 5. Never.
Do you think it was because you'd been in the service that they...
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure people treated you like a hero. Were you in New York when it was the big parade when you came home?
After the war?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, we loved it. Well, we liked just getting home, really, and knowing we were going to get discharged, get out of the service.
Yeah.
That was the important thing.
Was that the only war you fought in? You didn't...
Yes, that was it, just that, yeah.
That's good, yeah.
If I had to, I would have fought another one. If I had to, if I thought I could contribute or something, but...
Yeah, that one was an important one. The World War II was to save democracy.
We called it Willy Dukes. World War II, Willy Dukes.
I love it. Willy Dukes. I've never heard that before.
That's what we use that among ourselves,
Interesting. I'm sure you had a lot of lingo while you were on the boat, all your own sailor slang.
Story for you.
Yeah.
We were in Northern Ireland. I have grandmothers and grand aunts and all that came from Southern Ireland. And every time I go back and tell them I've been in either Ireland or Scotland or one or the other, they'd say, well, why didn't you get to Southern Ireland? I say, well, it's illegal. We can't go into Southern Ireland. I said, didn't you know that if you took your hat off and your scarf off, you were out of uniform, you could go over? I didn't know that. So the next trip over, we found this guy had a little boat. There were 4 of us that always went together. And we asked him if he'd take us across, I forget the name of the river. We used to stay in a place called Lisa Holly.
Okay.
It's in Southern Ireland. No, it's Northern Ireland, and Southern Ireland's just across the river there. And we asked this guy with the boat, would he take us over? Sure, so he did. And we went over there into Southern Ireland. I did it mostly so I could tell my aunts and my grandmother and grandfather I was in Southern Ireland. And the thing that I remembered the most was I saw this woman about 85 or 90 years old in the back of a bus smoking a pipe.
Oh my gosh.
how can you forget something
You
like that?
can't.
And
Wow.
I went back and told my aunts, and all they did was laugh. You know?
That is so funny.
Yeah.
So were you in so was it Northern Ireland, kind of like the Belfast area, and then, or was it like northern, like Donegal?
No, it was Lisa Hawley was the southern. That's where we took our liberty, was at Lisa Hawley. We didn't leave
You
to go
didn't
any
leave to
place
go anywhere
there.
else, yeah.
When I got to Scotland, we pulled into the Firth of Forth. You ever heard of that? That's the big bay there. They
Yes,
call it the
yes.
Firth of Forth. And we pulled into Greenwich. And we took a train from Greenwich to Edinburgh, which was, well, maybe an hour away.
Yeah.
And the stagecoach, the train looked like a stagecoach.
Wow.
They had the lights in there, but the lights were all black and,
Yeah, I know.
you couldn't turn them on, you know?
Wow.
And you know what I remember about that the most?
What?
The girls. Do you know why?
Why?
They had their hairdos, and they had them in like little curls, and each curl was a different color. They had like maybe 10 different colors all around the back of their head. Oh, how did
Wow.
they get that?
That's wild. I wonder if it was just the style of the times.
It must have been.
That's
Because
crazy.
I've asked 100 people that question, maybe only one says, yeah, I remember that.
Wow. Interesting. I'll have to ask my relatives from Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, see if they know.
See if they
Are
remember.
they from Ireland?
Yeah, so my grandparents are from Roscommon and Galway, and so the West Coast. So I've been over through all of Ireland, up to
Yeah.
Belfast, down to Cork. We spent 3 weeks over there with my family, getting to see everybody. I love England, Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a
It
different feel over there.
Well, I didn't see England, but I did see, I volunteered at the Wright Museum.
Yeah.
And this young couple came in, about 33, 34 years old, and I'm saying to myself, geez, they're a handsome couple. They sound like they got a little brogue on them. And I'm a guy that introduces people into the museum. And I said, where are you folks from? He said, we're from Ireland. And I said, the north or the south? He said, the southern Ireland. I said, which county? He says, County Cork.
Cork, yeah.
I said, that's where my grandparents came from. He says, what's your name? I said, it's Bill Cronin. He says, you're the ones that own all the liquor stores and the liquor markets and the bar rooms over there. I didn't know that, but I know it now.
That's amazing. It's such a small
So
world.
I mentioned it to my two great aunts who were quite old. They, oh yeah, we owned a few, you know.
Wow. It's just so cool getting
Yeah,
to
I know.
Ireland, I feel like, is just it's like small town, even though
Yeah.
it's a country. So
You know that Ireland is the richest capital in the world?
Yeah.
You know why? Its capital is always Dublin.
Yes. Dublin, I love
Yeah,
it. I
Dublin.
love your jokes.
they're great. I love
I
Dublin.
get one in, yeah.
Did you ever go back to Europe, to the places you?
No,
No.
never had any urge to.
Interesting.
But I enjoyed, yeah, I guess I did enjoy the liberties over there, but I didn't enjoy it when we were under attack or thinking we were going to get sunk, you know?
Yeah, no.
Thank God we never did.
Yeah. In 3 years, that's pretty
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know obviously other ships went down, so you must have been a rarity that.
We were a rarity. Well, we had the Admiral on board. We had 12 destroyers, and we'd take a convoy across, all Army guys, and then all the equipment and the oil barges would be in back of the thing in case an oil truck got hit, an oil tanker got hit. They couldn't set fire to the other ships. That was the reason that they gave us, that they were behind us. And going over, I just remember, I just loved the ocean. And one night, I was coming back from a watch, and it was dark out, and something hit me in the leg. Honest to God, I thought it was a flying fish about that big, and it hit. See, the destroyers are only 3 or 4 feet off the water, and this flying fish came and it hit me on the side of the leg, and gee,
Thought you'd been hit by something else.
by a flying fish.
Wow.
Hit by a fish. How many people do you know can say they've been hit by a fish?
Not me, but wow, I know one person now.
Yeah.
You. Wow.
And then the other thing I remember about it was we'd be on watch up on the tower, and the first thing they tell you was the first trip up there, you don't watch the water, you watch the horizon. And then anything between the horizon, which is about 10 or 11 miles away, and anything between you and the horizon comes up, you'll see it. If you watch this, if you try to watch down there, you won't see anything out a mile, you know?
True.
And we had this one fella, he was black, nicest guy you ever want, handsome black guy. And he was relieving us, and the guy with me got sick, and he's climbing up the ladder, and the guy that was sick threw up.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. But they never thought about it or anything. It was just something that happened, and he washed it off.
And just kept going with his day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, geez, I haven't thought of these things for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of, once you get the memories going,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to pop
Remember
up.
that fish, yeah.
That fish, the flying fish.
Flying fish. Boy, that thing really hurt.
That's wild.
So I bought him a peacoat to replace the one he lost.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes. I think he only wore it once.
No, maybe a couple of times. No, the peacoat I had, this friend of mine was going on Liberty, and he said, "Can I borrow your peacoat?" And I said, "Sure." He didn't go on Liberty. He went over the hill. I never saw him again.
Oh my goodness. What a friend.
Yeah.
Just takes it and runs.
He wasn't a friend, let's put it that
No,
way.
yeah, it's
True,
true.
it's true.
Do you have any special questions that you have?
That covered so many
Of my questions, it's just,
Good.
yeah, great to be able to hear these stories and just their experience during that time. And